She stood on red carpets with that perfect smile, designer gowns flowing around her like liquid gold. Blake Lively had everything: beauty, fame, a fairy tale marriage to Ryan Reynolds, and a career that seemed untouchable. But behind that radiant exterior, a storm was building, one that would shake Hollywood to its core and reveal the quiet power of a woman who refused to be silenced. The year 2024 started like any other for Blake. Movie premieres, magazine covers, social media posts that painted the picture of perfection. But there was something different about her latest project. It Ends With Us was more than just another film. It was a story about domestic violence, about finding strength in the darkest moments. Little did anyone know that Blake would soon find herself living a version of that very story. On set, something was wrong. While cameras rolled and the crew worked tirelessly behind the scenes, a different drama was unfolding. Justin Baldoni, the film's director and co-star, was not the feminist ally he portrayed himself to be in public. Blake began documenting everything, not with dramatic confrontations or emotional outbursts, but with something far more powerful: facts. She kept records, screenshots, timestamps, witness statements. While others might have chosen to stay quiet or fight fire with fire, Blake chose a different weapon: the truth. But what happened next was truly shocking. Instead of acknowledging the problem, a sophisticated machine kicked into gear. Public relations experts, social media campaigns, and carefully orchestrated attacks designed to paint Blake as difficult, demanding, and diva-like. They tried to bury her reputation before she could speak her truth. Here is where Blake Lively showed the world who she really was. Not the glamorous actress from the red carpet, but a woman of quiet steel. She did not raise her voice. She did not engage in public feuds. Instead, she gathered evidence. She built her case methodically, like a prosecutor preparing for the trial of her life. The machine against her was powerful. Publicists with decades of experience, crisis management experts, and a network of influence that stretched across Hollywood. They had buried stories before. They had silenced voices. They had protected their clients at any cost. And this is where everything changed. On December 20th, 2024, Blake filed her complaint. Not a celebrity tantrum, not a publicity stunt, but a detailed, documented account of sexual harassment and retaliation. The filing was precise, factual, and devastating in its clarity. The response was immediate and predictable: counter-lawsuits, character assassination, a $400 million lawsuit designed to intimidate and silence. But Blake had learned something that her opponents had not expected. Sometimes the quietest voice carries the most weight. You have not heard the most surprising part yet. As the legal battle raged, something extraordinary happened. Text messages were unsealed. The very evidence that Blake had been quietly collecting began to see the light of day. Messages that revealed the coordinated campaign against her, the deliberate attempts to damage her reputation, and the cold calculation behind what was supposed to look like organic public opinion. The beautiful actress who once seemed untouchable became something far more powerful, a symbol of resistance. Not through grand gestures or dramatic speeches, but through patience, documentation, and an unwavering commitment to the truth. Each court filing revealed more. Each unsealed document showed the machinery that had been turned against her. The public relations campaigns, the social media manipulation, the coordinated efforts to paint her as the villain in her own story. But Blake had been 3 steps ahead all along. Her deposition transcripts, when released, showed a different side of the story. Here was not a diva or a difficult actress, but a woman who had done her homework. She answered questions with precision, backed up claims with evidence, and never lost her composure, even when faced with aggressive questioning. The tide began to turn. In June 2025, Baldoni's lawsuit against her was dismissed by a federal judge. The very case that was supposed to intimidate her into silence crumbled under the weight of its own contradictions. But this was not about winning or losing a legal battle. This was about something much deeper. Blake Lively had shown the world that true power does not come from screaming the loudest or having the most money for legal fees. True power comes from patience, preparation, and an unshakable commitment to truth. She had turned the very system designed to silence her into the weapon that would expose it. The young woman, who had once been known primarily for her fashion choices and romantic relationship, had transformed into something unexpected, a quiet revolutionary. She had taken on one of Hollywood's most insidious problems, the machinery of silence and intimidation. And she had won not through force, but through the simple act of refusing to be erased. But here is the twist that will leave you thinking long after this story ends. Blake Lively was never supposed to be the hero of this story. The narrative was written to make her the villain, the public relations machine, the legal intimidation, the character assassination. All of it was designed to ensure that she would be remembered as difficult, demanding, and unreliable. Instead, she became the author of her own story. Through meticulous documentation, patient legal work, and an understanding that sometimes the most powerful response to noise is silence backed by irrefutable facts, she rewrote the ending. The real revelation is not that Blake Lively survived this ordeal, but that she showed us all a different way to fight. In a world of social media battles and public feuds, she chose the path of quiet determination and methodical truth-telling. She proved that sometimes the most dangerous opponent is not the one who screams the loudest, but the one who keeps the most detailed records. And in doing so, she may have changed Hollywood forever. Because now, every powerful person who thinks they can silence someone with money and influence knows that somewhere out there, someone might be keeping receipts, building a case, and waiting for the perfect moment to let the truth speak for itself.